Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Rise and Grind. On today's episode on Rise and Grind, we're going to talk about International Happiness Day and what's really holding us back. The question comes on and what holds our happiness back, and what are our thoughts? What's the discussions, and what are we overlooking for our daily happiness? So stay tuned here in just a moment, and we're going to get right to it. Hey everybody, how y'all doing this morning? It's been a little bit since Rise and Grind has been on YouTube and Wisdom. I've been taking creative background work on storytelling and all this great stuff. But really what I'm here to talk about, and someone brought it to my attention. I was in a chat room on Clubhouse, and they were talking about today was International Happiness Day. And I was like, never heard of the thing. So where did International Happiness Day really come from? Well, the day was established in 2012, March 20th, in the United Nations. They basically said the purpose of the day is to know the value of happiness in one's life and create awareness around it. And the General Assembly of the United Nations passed this resolution on July 12th of 2012, but declared that March 20th would be the actual day. And I feel like, you know what? That's out of anything that you could do this morning. Really, Monday is probably the best place where we ought to start. And why do I say Mondays? Many of us don't look forward to Mondays. Many of us pass Mondays like, oh, I got to start work. I got to start the grind. But there are a population of us that do feel that there should be happiness and gratitude to start our momentum of our days and our evenings and our weeks ahead. So, what is really holding us back? That's a really deep, profound question. Now, many could say that happiness is delayed because of results that you have not achieved, or happiness is an illusion. Happiness is, so many things. But what I feel that really holds us back in tendency on happiness is overlooking the value of what we already have. Kind of reminds me when I was a kid, it's like you'd get that brand new toy and it's like it'd bring you an immediate response of getting a gift, but not really caring who it came from. But it was just like, wow, I got this amazing thing and I'm here, right? And I've got this thing. But after a while, the reflection kind of wears off. The toy does it lose its luster, or did we just lose our interest? And I kind of feel that, happiness can definitely be um, something like that. Now, happiness is a result, like all emotions, everything that we feel and express about our daily lives and ourselves is based on a choice of actions or no actions. That's the number. And then it follows the belief and the understanding. Those would be the next methods of how to get happiness. But happiness is not so much of a destination, but something that really is ultimately a choice within you. And even sometimes, even in the worst circumstances, I've seen people go through great suffering and they will tell you, I'm not suffering, I'm not enduring, I'm going through, and this is only temporary. And that's a pretty strong mindset. And I've talked to some of these people in depth of how they got to where they're at. And they say, well, when your life almost comes at an end, you realize what is your priority. So, um, really, should we be looking at priorities on a daily basis of where does our happiness relate to our priorities? I think it's a very valuable question. And the reason why I say that is because when we let things get out of place, out of our own hands, and wanting to be like somebody else or have the wealth and the riches of the wealthiest, what would you do when you're there? Right? It's like many people talk about how a lottery winner, for example, goes broke within a year or two. Money slips through your fingers. And it is dangerous, to understand when you get a gift like that or reward, not to overtake it. I was talking to a friend not too long ago who talked to me about they got a large sum pay. And I said, watch yourself, give yourself a few days because that wealth that you immediately got will go quicker than you think if you don't manage your expectations and what you're really grateful for. Because if you always say that you're in need, then guess what? The need only continues to grow. But what about what's sustainable? What about what actually works in place? What am I grateful? And it's probably one of the most difficult areas that I could say, but really to focus on International Happiness Day, you know, like the General Assembly came to that resolution in 2012. Why did they come to that? Happiness is to recognize the relevance, and well-being as universal goals of aspiration lived through the human being. That's what it's quoted in saying, you know. And what are you what are things that create your happiness? Anyone can answer up on stage if they want to. I am on live on Wisdom, and I am also in YouTube. So if anyone wants to join and wants to talk about it, I have a little bit of time, but in my reflection, what has made me happy? This is also a mental fight for yourself. Happiness really relates to exactly the position you're in. Everything that has happened till now, everything that is your experience, everything that you have is a result of something you've done or haven't done. And if you're unhappy with the results, you can judge yourself. You can do that if you want, but is it going to take you to the next level? And that's a valuable question. Many of us want the next level. Many feel, I don't know when we got to a point where we feel like we have to have constant evaluation or coaches to tell us about what to be happy with instead of our own reasoned choices. I'll give you a few of mine. The happiest moments of my life are seeing the three children of my life, of my, that I've had be, live, laugh, love. Yes, sometimes even cry, but that's not really something I'm proud of. But knowing that I could be there when I could be there, that really brings joy to me. And for the last year, I've been going through some hard times with my teenager, but I'm still proud of her. And every time I see her and I think about her, in my pictures, I think about all the good moments, and those bring me joy and they bring me happiness. What else has brought me happiness? My scholastic adventures, going after a college degree and then going after that. Those are definitely things that have brought joy to my life and happiness because it meant that, excuse me, I could be more than just a waiter. I could be more than maybe what others thought and predicted about me. And there's still more work to be. But to be able to enjoy International Happiness Day is quite a few. It's a task today because when I was talking with others, the one thing that I felt they were all missing in these others, they wanted to complain early in the morning about somebody else. And I literally dipped out and said, I've got to go. And I asked some other friends, I was like, hey, what brings you happiness today? Listen to music, you know. Some friends said, hey, I got a brand new car. And that really brought me a lot of joy and happiness because I don't have to worry about breaking down. Short answer, but that was their happiness, and that's fine. Another person told me about their joy and happiness that they're alive. And when they said it to me, it kind of shook me to my core because I knew exactly what they meant. And though I never served in the service with them, um, speaking to another veteran, he's like, look, oh man, I'm just glad to be alive. I'm glad I have a family. And these are things that get overlooked, you know. So what are philosophies about joy? There's Let me punch up. Let's see. Stoic quotes about happiness. Let's see what the results come up with. Oh, there's quite a few. 33 selected quotes on life and happiness. So I'm going to pull that up and I'll read a few of them to you. Let's see. True joy, the great a festival of life. Let's see. True happiness is to enjoy a present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. For he that is so wants nothing, says Seneca. So, anyways, but there's more stuff. Let's see. Epictetus, what did he say? How long are you going to wait before you demand the best of yourself? In no instance bypassing discriminations of reason. You have been given the principle that you ought to endorse, and you have endorsed them. What kind of teacher then are you still waiting for in order to refer your self-improvement to him? Epictetus. And those are some pretty good quotes. Oh, wait, here we go. Marcus Aurelius from Meditations. If it is not right, do not do it. If it's not true, do not say it. Well, simple prescriptions on how to get to happiness and how to get to joy. Because when you look at those things, they're kind of like they're telling you in so many words, like, don't put your feelings on a foreign destination that you cannot control. That's really the gist of it. In my opinion, it's not always right, but it's not always wrong. So when today, and you're thinking about what's going on in the news, what's going on in a crisis, what government leaders are meeting, how their actions reflect onto us. How we pick leaders is a big deal. People like it happens every election season. I have lost friends who are no longer my friends. I have lost people out of my life based on a persona of political thinking. But see, those political thinking and grandstanding brings no one joy. It just sorts out who's your ally and who's not. It doesn't guarantee you a way of living, and the tendency is to blame somebody else for something else. You hear these people talk, we need to work together. We need to get everyone on the same page. But there lays the problem. They really project that it won't happen unless you agree. I can be happy and disagree with somebody, and I can be happy agreeing with somebody. But I understand the priorities of that. And what my happiness and joy mean to me is that I can take my own reasoned choice and I don't have to qualify it to anyone else's position. For a long time, I did deliberate on that. I did imposterize myself. I tried to fit in, people please, and all I did was just BS. And it cost me. But that doesn't mean that you stay that way. Eventually, you do mature, you do grow. Eventually, you will learn from your lessons. It may take a long time. And people may say, well, you should not have been in that position, but who are you to decide? Because do not judge unless ye be judged by the same measure. Had it said to me, matter of fact, yesterday. And what I told that person was, you know what? I'd rather not give you an answer where I should or I shouldn't be, because you're right next to me. That's where I am. That's where you are. So where I should be is irrelevant. According to your choices, they're none of your business. What is your business is how I attend to you now. That's pretty hard to say, and that's the thing. I've heard, and then I heard it again later in the day by someone else, and I responded with nothing. Again, I responded in silence. And they're all, what are you thinking? And I said, you know what? What I think is not relevant right now. And it didn't continue. The point is that when you choose your emotional positioning, like on a chessboard, if you really are playing that game, the point is that when you give no favor to anyone's questions or reflections or their thought process, they're investigating things, then you really are eliminating quite a few things and you're controlling something else, your own reason choice. So if today is International Happiness Day, I say, everyone, I hope that you are happy today, tonight, the morning, the evening, wherever you are. I hope that you right now can be grateful for something right now. You know, I think there's a plenty of enough problems, but what I can say, and I said this, this was so interesting. I came up with this thought and my own observation. There are, you know, definitely different types of people, but the way that people look at problems and obstacles is very distinctly different. When you have a problem, you're going to deliberate a lot. But when you have an obstacle, you know that that's just in the way of success. You know, the processing of doing whatever you're going to do or what you need done. So ask yourself today, do I have more problems or obstacles? And if you look at life with that I have obstacles, then the next preceding point is, am I willing to go through those? You know, there's this guy named Ralph White that I watch on YouTube, and he says, and I love his greetings. Hello, deep divers, and let's breathe, you know, and I find it so cheesy, but he's putting active command, like breathe. My breathing, my presence, everything that works outside of my control, whatever I have to do, deliberate, or figure out for the day is important. So when you go about this day and you're going to engage with people, react less, nod, smile, you know, give no poor reflection outwardly. Don't do it. Just watch and wait, because more than likely they're going to ask, is there anything wrong? No, nothing's wrong. Everything's good. See, and when you stop giving your attention to the opposite of what happiness and joy are, you have given a choice. Like, I hold no prisoners. I hold no expectations. I give nothing. So if you want some methods on how to be happy or how to create joy for yourself, I'm not that expert, but what I will tell you is like, look at simple things. What's your favorite cup of coffee or drink in the morning? You know, did you get a good night's rest? Were you contemplating problems or obstacles? Look at your problems and make them obstacles instead of problems. I think that will help you out so much more in the long run. And it's starting to help me out, because the more that I don't hold on, you know, to problems, I get to address my issues. And that's how, like, someone was asking me, like my court date got canceled last week, and they asked me how I felt, and I was frustrated, no doubt about that. But what I end up feeling was something so much different. And it's like, yeah, I have to wait till, like, what, April 5th for my court date for to get custody back, or to just even see my kid. And I thought about the results after I get these things. These are my obstacles. I want to connect with my daughter. I love my kids, all of them, you know? So I thought about what will help them and help that outcome. Do the work. Do the hard work. Do the shadow work. Do all that stuff, you know? And when you understand you're doing all that hard work, those personal reflections, getting rid of the bad mantras or egotism that really takes you down, not brings you up. Think about those things. Reflect. Take 5 minutes, meditate. And if you don't know what meditation is, here, I'll give you a brief instance. Just close your eyes and breathe. And close your eye and keep them closed. And just take a deep, relax your mind, relax your body, even in your crazy office or wherever you're working. Just breathe, just slow and easy. And you let things go. You just breathe. It's not the next thing you need to get to email. I think one of the biggest problems that I ever had was trying to reorganize my life, organize the chaos. And a lot of times when my life would be in chaos, I would look at my surroundings, my bed, my room, my house. If it's all disarray, well, that's a reflection on how I've behaved. But if I take care of those things and put them in their rightful place, then it leads me on to the next steps of whatever outside of me, my work, my personal relationships, my business relationships. Those get cleaned up as well. So if you want to start on happiness today, breathe, relax, let go of all those problems for right now. Look at your surroundings after you breathe for 5, 10 minutes, whatever it is. There's plenty of meditations out there. Take time and go attend to some of those chaotic, messy things around your proximity. Clean it up a little bit. Don't hate the task. Enjoy the task and the feeling of, wow. It's like when you get into a newly made bed, and like to me, like I remember this so clearly about joining the Navy. You craved clean sheets, you craved a comfortable bed, you appreciated the things that civilians overlook. You know, you get on an aircraft carrier, you get on a destroyer, you get on a submarine. Those are not comfortable places to sleep. So when I go and make my bed, make my rack, it's a symbol to say I have taken the time to make sure that my surroundings will comfort me and welcome me as I return to recess. You know, because you can't always be grinding. Those people say that, oh, you got to be grinding 24/7. No, you don't. You do not. You need to learn about how to be satisfied with certain things, but that doesn't mean just because you're satisfied doesn't mean that it can't be improved or you can't grow on. Because I feel like once I've reached a different level, like kind of like reaching a belt in jujitsu, as every belt that I've and level that I've increased, I've been satisfied. I've done the hard work. I did the practice. I learned what it needed and I enjoy it. Just like my degrees, same thing. I got those degrees. I earned my respect of that task. I spent 4 years or 5 years in college to get that college degree. It meant something to me. Doesn't mean to anything else, but it shows. And I remember this quote from Steve Harvey. It says, "You know, a degree shows you that you spent a focus of time to commit to an excellence of education, and you are recognized for all that work." And so when people say college education is a joke, well, it's not a joke if you know what you want to do. It adds to your happiness and your joy. It adds to being satisfied. Many people have different philosophies about this, but you have to decide that, nobody else. So when you go throughout today, my recommendations for joy is look all around you. You're alive. You may not have certain things in your possession, maybe a lot of money or a fancy lifestyle. I don't know. Whatever it is, those are all things that are achievable, but they come at a cost. There is an exchange. Ignore the exchange, but understand first where you're at today, and it might help you out. Well, that's all the time that I really have, unless anyone wants to come up before I end the show. And if you want to tell me your reflection, that's great. If not, I would say, it's going to be a great day. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, you can find me 72 the architect. That's my handle. Rise and grind with 72 the architect. It's International Happiness Day. I will hashtag it and label it my show. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I left a link on my YouTube, the More Life Collective, if you want to do a workout challenge that I'm in, or if you want and you want to also subscribe to Mud Water, which I drink instead of coffee. That's also Granny Wowzers. Wow, it's been a long time. I haven't seen you in a while. So let's see what she's got to say. Come on up. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, Granny. How you doing?
I'm Good morning. I mostly wanted to tell you hello. It has been a minute. And
Yeah.
Jason, I enjoy your talks. Do I always agree with everything you say? Probably not, but I love the way that you present it and I respect your views. And I don't understand why people can't do that.
Well,
So when you said you were talking about friends that you've lost because of your political views, what happened to being able to have different views and still be friends? I just don't get that part.
that's the thing is I don't have to sort them out. They sort themselves out. Like,
Exactly.
and that's why when it comes to politics, as an example, I'll tell people I'm an independent with no party affiliation. That means I can vote a Republican side or a Democrat side. It means whoever I agree with when I agree with them, but there is limitations. And I don't have to worry. I don't have to concern myself. Those people who felt like, well, I can't trust you. Well, then that's your deal. That's your problem, not mine.
Wow, it went that deep. I can't
It
trust you. Wow,
always goes always goes that deep. You get people talking about politics, you will find worse than an arm wrestling match. It's more like, let me slap your face and you slap my face and see who lasts, you know. No, I don't play that game.
I mean, I do understand that it can get very intense because I
Mhm.
did lose a friend of mine a couple years back when Trump first came into office. And I said, look, I respect your views. That's fine. I understand how you
Mhm.
feel, but you have to respect mine as well. And he's like, no, 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 you're just a leftist and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I said, why can't we just have an agreement that we are on opposite sides and maybe we might be able to help each other understand each other's side if we converse about it? Absolutely not. I became the devil. I was everything
Did
under
you
the
ever
sun.
possibly ever
Oh my
think
God.
about this though? Maybe if you were to say, "Hey, you can either respect it or not respect it, but either way, I'll respect
Yeah.
your views." If you tell
I,
someone
I,
you have to do something, you're going to get pushback every time.
yeah. No, I tried that too and it just didn't
You
work.
just
This person
you just like
was
go in
not for me.
silence. Yeah, you go like, "Hey, thank you for letting me know. It's okay."
Yeah.
No, there if you come back, I'm not going to receive you with ill will. I'm just going to receive you the same way you came in, the same way you go out. There's no hostility,
Exactly.
you know.
I don't have I don't have time or energy to waste on disliking a person or
Mhm.
going flashing their credibility. That's a waste of my time.
Mhm.
I can agree with you and or disagree with you and still not hold what do you call it, a grudge or
Mhm.
judgment. I'm just gonna be like, okay, those are your views. Enjoy. you
Right.
know?
Right. It's just it's a perspective and like I've reached that point in my life. I'm 50 years old. What does the next 50 look like for me? And I just reflected enough and thought about it hard enough and I was like, "You know what? I just don't need to qualify. I'm not worried about qualifying in anyone's presence. Either you're going to run with it or not, and that's fine. I hold no prisoners. I hold I'm more concerned about my role in life than the rules. Now, before the first 50 were more about the rules because I felt, well, the rules are control everything, but they don't. We make the
They do
rules in
not.
our role. Yeah. Go ahead.
I I 100% agree with you. It must be a 50 thing because I felt like after I turned 52, it was just, you know what? I'm just here to live the best that I can live and love the best that I can love. I'm not here to argue, to cause riff or any of that. I don't have time or energy for that. My life is not that much longer. I'm going to
Mhm.
use it to what I can get done in this life. And if I can help as many people as I can, I'd rather have a legacy of people remembering me of, you know what, she helped me when nobody would. She gave me a voice, or she did this, or it was just pleasant to have her around. I'd rather have that than, oh my God, this girl, she was always arguing and she was so negative. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I
Well, there was a quote that, I read this book once and listened to it once already. And now I'm reviewing it. It's a book called The Everyday Hero Manifesto. And I'll put that in my YouTube description. And one of the things he said about, like, when it was like chapter, what was it? I think it was like 60. Yeah, 60, the 8 forms of wealth. And he said, and I quote him in saying this on page 241. He says, when we are young, we are willing to sacrifice all that there is for wealth. But yet, once
right.
we grow old and wise, we are willing to give up all this wealth for even a single day of excellent health. And excellent health means you have your happiness and joy in place, that no one is going to rain on your parade to take it away. That I don't care what you do to me. I know that my joy, my experience, and my happiness have come as a result of the work I've done, the contributions that have been made, the collaborations that have been done, and reflections that show of what I have value in place. So I get why that quote is, because now I'm like, in a little while, I've got to go to the cardiologist. I've been seeing cardiologists and going through all these tests, like tests I never had to go through before. But I'm
Right.
doing preventative, treatments to understand, yeah, I feel a little bit more tired. And then sometimes I've had chest pains, but I'm not going to wait until I'm in a bed or on a gurney, like, oh shit, I'm in a really bad position. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I take the joy in seeing the doctor, where some people are like, God, I hate being in doctor's offices. And I'm just the opposite. I'm like, well, then you can be there or not be there. That's your choice. But at the end of the day, we just have to stop worrying about the contradictions, the competitions. Worry about concern yourself more about the things that really better yourself. If you're talking and trying to be a podcaster on here, which many do, then do it, and do it
Right.
without complaint, or gossiping about another person, or how the government's run. The government only runs when people contribute, and they only get their way when we keep voting. So whether politics or personal beliefs, God, whatever you want, your star seed self, read the cards, whatever you want, whatever it is that you're into, if it brings you joy, so be it. But just be careful when you prescribe it to other people, because you get pushback, and it's like, hey, I'm bringing you to awareness. If you're interested, great. If you're not, it's okay. No harsh judgment. And that's why I can treat.
Egg.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I'm like, exactly. And this is part of the reason why I do enjoy your talks, Jason. So when I heard you on, I was like, oh, I haven't heard Jason in a minute, because
Mm-hmm.
you have a perspective that's pretty generalized. And that's why I have a hard time understanding why people just, like, brush you off over your views. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so you don't agree with what he said at that moment, but
Mm-hmm.
there's other things that I know you're going to relate to.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. I just don't have to, and this is one of the reasons why I left stereo, because it was always, people just trying to compete about the next reactive question or talk. I left a lot of these platforms, and I really focused on the talent of speaking, because when people have something to say versus something that they just thought, like, out of my mind, like impulsively, like, I thought about this. I was like, what makes happiness in the last couple weeks? I looked at my lady, I looked at my 5-year-old yesterday, and I was like, this is gold right now. I could not replace them if they were taken away from me, you know?
right. Yeah.
And it's
And
it go ahead.
oh no, I'm just agreeing. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I agree too.
Yeah, no problem. It got about a minute left, so that's why I'm like, being conscious also of the time. So if there's anything you want to add before the time runs out, because I will be ending my show pretty quickly after you go off there. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just enjoy your perspective, and I say to anybody out there, be open minded and be willing to hear another thought from somebody else. It might open you up to things you didn't think were possible, or
I agree.
break you out of a box that you've been stuck in. I mean, be open, listen. It takes 2 seconds to listen.
Yeah,
That's
less,
it.
yeah, and just let go. I think that's the best gold right there, what you just said, because when we take listening in the possession as a tool, I suspend my judgment according to what another person has to provide. But when
Exactly.
people are upset about what they can't change and they're trying to persuade, that adds on to a whole different perspective. So when you go about today, and or even right now, if you're listening or watching, you can watch this show on recording. I'll be doing the finer tunes to it later. But what I want you to really think about today is what do you already have that brings you joy? And my children bring me joy. My colleagues who support me bring me joy. They bring they bring atonements, and I feel joyful and happy about these things. I'm happy that my parents are still alive, where I wasn't so happy. I'm happy that I have a functioning mind. It makes me very joyful, you know, and that's something you cannot overlook. You have to be able to put in perspective that what you have now is more important than what you're going to have later, because you can't get to later and have it really in place to serve you unless you already appreciate what you have. It's like if you have a roof over your head, that's better than I see homeless people out there in tents. Sometimes it scares me. I was like, it's like, and I have to remind myself, don't attract myself to that outcome, because the more that I worry about it, it gets closer and closer like a tractor beam. But if I take in consideration of my opportunities and just make things happen as best I can and collaborate and expect little, then it sets me up for a good position. And I feel that a lot of us do. We don't have happiness based on direct decisions. If we're more specific in what we want, then guess what? You're gonna get it. The universe, the world, God will conspire to make everything happen for you, and that's a beautiful thing. And but you have to remember there's an exchange. You get this, what are you gonna give back? Some people call that laws of attraction, some people call it karma, but at the end of the day, it's really gonna be up to you. So go out today, look at what you already have. Don't worry about what you don't have, and be satisfied. Even if it's something you didn't necessarily want and you didn't want it to be that way, appreciate it and say, okay, well, now I recognize the improvements that can be made. But if it's something you can't improve, saying, I appreciate the experience, say thank you. I thank my troubles of the past to really get me to the place that I am today. And that's what my real message is about today. So happy International Happiness Day. I wish you all well. Find out what is stopping you from becoming happy. Is it really something of the future? Are you really dissatisfied with outcomes? Can you change those things? And if you can't, remember, it's very important to look at the value, the insights, the important things to consider. Whether you're overcomplicating your tasks of happiness and your feelings about happiness, or achieving happiness as a reflection of good hard work, reflective times, value, patience over profits. You know, the formative, the polite, the confident tone of your voice. Be optimistic about the prospects of atoning for happiness, attaining happiness. and how it will support who you are, what you'll be doing in the future. Well, that's all the time that I have for Rise and Grind today. I'm 72 the Architect. If you want to check me out on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter Spaces, it's pretty much all the same handle except for Twitter, it's more like 72 Architect, but my social medias are they are posted in my profile. I have a link tree. So I hope you all have a great day. We'll see you all next time.